Welcome to the Curiosity Crisis. We challenge ourselves to explore the world of business, tech, investing, and science. Get curious and be part of our journey as we discuss, challenge, and learn.
Today, we're interviewing Harrison Lingard, the founder and CEO of Field. Field is a growth and automation software for home and automotive businesses built to make the lives of service-based businesses streamlined, easy, and more scalable. Harry's vision came from running a service-based business himself, Refresh Mobile Car Detailing, which he started out of his garden shed. It was here that he realized the need for an optimized and efficient field management solution. Since starting Field, the journey has been nothing short of incredible. Building his own software solution took him to 25,000 customers and 50 staff in just 2 years, and he was even briefly featured on Shark Tank Australia. Since then, Harry has moved Field to the States, basing it out of Texas, which has been a big part of the scale-up story. Harry believes in ruthlessly delivering undeniable value, and we cannot wait to unpack the story of him bootstrapping Field to what it is today and get his plans on the future. So without further ado, Harry, how are you?
Hey, very well, thank you. Good to see you again. It's been quite a while there.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries, Luke.
All the way from Texas, man.
I know it's our evening, your morning there, so I'm glad we're able to make that work.
Yeah, well, we'd just like to kick the show off with a question that we ask all our guests, and that is, what's been keeping you curious?
A great question. I can't lead with my garden like Blake. I can't do that, but motocross, I've been really enjoying that here in Austin. Got a good group of friends here that we ride every weekend just about. Just lots of traveling recently. It's pretty epic being here in Austin where you can pretty much go anywhere for a couple $100 and like an hour you're in a new place. So yeah, that's what's been keeping me curious.
Awesome.
Exploring, getting around. I love it. And it's good to see that you still have time for that in this incredible journey of Field. So to kick it off, I gave a little bit of a background, but from your perspective, what is the founding story of Field and how has it evolved from your garden shed to a tech company in the States?
Yeah, great question. The founding story of Field. Well, as you mentioned earlier, started Refresh and built that company to 25,000 customers and was on Shark Tank and didn't get a deal, but it's a TV show, so it's not really it's not a real life scenario. But after the show, I was pretty motivated to grow the company and even further. And so after the show launched in Perth, so we're already in Perth, so we moved from Perth to Melbourne and started growing in Melbourne. So we were all of a sudden in two states and started to get a lot of interest in how we're running Refresh. Like, how on earth are you running all these people cross country with one manager?
Yep.
And that's when I received an offer for, it was like $1.1 million for half the company and a juicy salary and a few $100,000 cash to myself. So good offer, but I saw that it was a bigger opportunity than just selling out at that stage. And I thought there's a lot more fuel in the tank. So let's go. And so at that point, I actually read a book. It's sitting behind me. It's called Blitzscaling. If you guys have ever read it before, amazing book. It basically talks about scaling at all costs, and it can be a dangerous thing. You don't want to waste money, but at the same time, it can be a very good exercise into sort of scrapping the small initiatives and going big. And so I went to the gym. I think I literally just joined a gym in Melbourne, and after like 5 minutes at the gym, I had this epiphany, and I called Garo, co-founder. I was like, Garo, I've got this idea. Let's just start offering our software to everyone because we can't expand fast enough with Refresh. And I sort of worked out a game plan how to do that, and it kind of all clicked. And I knew I wanted to do it, but I kind of didn't know how I was going to do it. And it sort of all clicked after reading this book, and I realized, that's how we can grow a lot faster. And so that was February 2019. And so I put all the profits from Refresh into Field for a year, scaled up to a team of 8 of us. And then from 2020, that's when things started to get serious and raise a little bit more money through friends. And then COVID hit. And so that's a whole nother experience after that. But that's the origin of that.
We'll get to that.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And I love just quickly on that story to turn it from refresh car detailing into field. It came to you literally in the gym. I think a lot of the other founders we've talked to have also said that, their biggest ideas have come to them in the weirdest of places and it's just the most random events. But that's super cool.
And to be honest, like I read that book, like I think I read it in 3 days straight. I sat there at work and I was just reading. And then at the end of the 3 days, I was like, well, that was a waste of time. Like it was like, why did I spend 3 days reading this book? And then it was literally a week later and I was just completely, I must have been processing it subconsciously. And then all of a sudden I was just like, bam, like this is what I need to do.
So you had this other startup called Refresh, and was it some form of long held ambition to be an entrepreneur, or it was more of the identification of, hey, this could really scale? Like, why did you pursue field?
Yeah, I think I've always been inclined to, I guess, pushing the boundaries and doing something unique and trying to find, that one thing that's going to make an impact and ultimately, get myself financial freedom and along the way have a cool journey doing it and build a cool team that I can hang out with every day. So, that's always something that I've been looking forward to doing. And I think, people think about it very kind of black and white, like, oh, okay, now it's time to start a business. Okay, I'm going to be successful. And like, it doesn't really work like that. So I guess Refresh and then Field was just iterations of, many, many, many years since leaving school at 16, many, many years of iterations of then leading up to that point where something actually stuck. And I will say that it's not like I created hundreds of ideas and you hear these people that are always creating the next best thing and kind of do something for like a month and then go to something else. It wasn't like that at all. I gave everything a really, really good go. And I feel like that was kind of just the next obvious step for me to start Refresh. And then that was the next obvious step to start Field.
So we're trying other ideas to start things before Refresh. Is that what we're hearing?
Prior to Refresh, I was selling real estate in New Zealand. And I did that prior to that because I did door-to-door sales randomly and was really good at selling newspapers door-to-door. Like no one reads the newspaper, and somehow I managed to sell people that. After doing door-to-door sales, and that led to Refresh. So that led to the real estate. And then after the real estate, I was just looking for something else because I moved to Australia, started real estate again after being successful in New Zealand. But starting in a brand new market is really, really hard in real estate. It takes years to get that going. So I already had like 4 or 5 years of experience in New Zealand. I was like, oh man, I got to start this all over again. So I did that for like 8 months and it was still kind of looking for another idea. And I wouldn't say that Refresh was the first idea. I just think I was very methodical and did my research and really just kind of kept thinking before I was like, yes, this is it.
You've talked about Refresh before leading into Field, but what is the development and scale up journey of Field? And once you decided to take it to selling the software, those initial steps, how did you fund the iteration? How did you know that this scale journey was going to be it?
Yeah, great question. So had I have known how hard it would have been to start a tech company and then to take it to where it is today, I would have probably thought twice, I think, at the start. Like I had no idea what a big task it was. And like, to be honest, this is probably why I understand our customers so well. In the early days, I remember talking to my friends and be like, oh, I found this like app code online where I can get like an on-demand Uber app code base for like $500. Like, look at these idiots. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on software. Like, what are they doing all day? Like, I'd literally just download the code from this website and then look, we have an app. Like, that's how naive I was in the early days. I literally had no idea how big of a task it was going to be. And I guess every step of the way, the problem just kind of got bigger and it just got more expensive and then it just took longer. And then there was also like a lot of minefields, like people that were like, hey, I can help you do this. And they had no idea what they were doing. Like everyone's an expert, right? Everyone's an expert.
Yeah.
No one comes up to you and go, hey, look, I'm not really that good at this. Like no one's honest. The people come up to you and say, hey, I'm the number one this, I'm the number one that, like hire me, I'm going to help your business. And so it was also kind of, because I needed help, I couldn't do it myself. It was also kind of learning like who was the real deal and who wasn't the real deal, because every bit of money that I was able to save prior to fund this, and then all the money that I pulled out of Refresh over the years. Like, I mean, we weren't rich, like we didn't have a ton of money. So every hit that we took from the shiny light of someone saying, hey, we can build this ad for you, we can do PR for you, we can do, LinkedIn messaging, all this kind of stuff, it just became very, very expensive. So then the ramp up journey really became me learning every single part of like how to run a business or a tech company. So that was even, I didn't know how to code. So I one day just bought a computer and literally just sat down next to my one engineer that I had that I ended up hiring in-house and said, right, teach me everything you know. And so that was really kind of the pinnacle moment where we went from trusting other people blindly and really kind of losing a lot of money to me actually understanding the lift on the development side of things. And then also when we needed to, I would just work all night, catching up and coding little bits and pieces to make the platform better. So the ramp up journey, because we didn't have a ton of cash, was literally just, all right, we're just going to do whatever we can. What's this? And Gara and I still laugh. After I got that offer for half a Refresh, I was like, oh, we just need to create a login page where everyone can log in and use the software. It'll take like 3 months. Meanwhile, that's 6 years later now, and it's only at a point where we're like, oh, all right, this is really, 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 really good now. And we laugh. We thought it would take 3 months. And so Blake will laugh as well because he's always like, we say, we're so close. We're nearly there. We get the tattoo on our forehead, like, we're so close. The tagline. So the ramp up journey was just basically, offshore developers initially because we couldn't afford anything else, and I laugh on Shark Tank how he's like, oh, take it seriously, like get some developers, get a proper tech founder, blah, 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 get someone in-house. It's like, with what money?
How
How are we going to do that? And the other thing as well, in the tech industry, I compare it to the pharmaceutical industry in a sense that, say you have a normal business, a service business, right? You're an electrician. It's just you. You want to get more jobs? Well, you just talk to more people. And then all of a sudden you get more clients that start coming back because you did a good job and they tell their friends. All of a sudden you're busy. You hire another van. Great. Now you got 2 people and then you got 3 and then you kind of grow it. As long as you do a good job and people come back, ultimately you do a little bit of marketing. Ultimately your business is going to grow. Whereas in the tech space, you need a team of 10 to 15 at a bare minimum to cover all the functions from sales to customer support to customer success to marketing, obviously engineering, et cetera, and then no one will touch your product until it's way better than the other alternative. And so you just don't make any money for that whole time and no one will touch it. There's not really a way to make money along the way. It's like zero. And then all of a sudden one day people are just flooding in the door like they are now.
There's huge switching costs in technology. Hey, it's really hard. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned we're almost there, because we have a joke in my software engineering team that there's the first 90% and then there's the second 90%.
Yeah.
And I totally see where you're coming from. Just along what you were saying about hiring people, I've heard that from multiple founders that hiring people is actually one of the key learnings that they have, but also one of the biggest decisions that they have coming out of, okay, I've built something that works and now we've moved into the business stage and I need to hire people. And it's one of these huge things and they don't have any experience doing it. And you said, that you had a lot happen in that. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on how you went with hiring people and where you actually kind of were like, okay, I know what I need to do now?
Yeah, I learned a lot from Refresh. The car detailing industry, the commercial cleaning industry, residential cleaning industry it's hard to get good people that want to work for you. And there's a lot of people that are doing it that are very unreliable. And so with Refresh, we kind of developed a bit of a pipeline on how to hire people and how to really understand who's going to be good and who's not. And then combined with my sister, she used to work for Shopify. And she used to say to me, out of 300 resumes we used to get, we'd hire one person on a good day, right?
Wow.
So they were so critical on every single person. And then basically as people dropped off, really analyzing why didn't they last? What could we have done differently? So, with Refresh hiring hundreds of people over the first few years, I really kind of nailed the hiring process just by trial and error. Because don't get me wrong, my first probably 10 to 15 people were, I made mistakes. Like I 100% made mistakes. And so if you've never really hired anyone before, it can be daunting telling them no. It can be daunting when they stop performing after the first 2 days to tell them that they're out. So that polished approach came a lot of it came from refresh, and then also too in this space there's a lot of hype people, I call it, where they actually don't know how to code and they're just going to leverage ChatGPT to run everything. You know what I mean? Like ChatGPT is going to be their best friend, and you're going to get ChatGPT code, which, to be honest, is actually very, very handy sometimes to polish what you're doing or debug or find little bits and pieces wrong or quickly write something that's a common function. But if they're not in the office, they'll just probably have 8 jobs and tell you it's going to take forever. So, I know you're laughing, Luke, but that's generally a pretty typical hiring experience, and that's why we stopped hiring remote as well. We never hired remote after 2019. You come to the office, you show up, and that's that.
Just a quick intermission. Thanks so much for listening. If we could just ask a quick favor, if you could send this to a friend and recommend it, we would greatly appreciate it. It's easy to do and it helps the show out. Thanks. So on the show, we've had a couple of founders, one of which, Dylan, who went to Stanford Ignite, which is really heavily tech focused and is obviously based in the US. But we haven't had a founder move from their home country to the US. And I was wondering kind of what were the key milestones in Field's growth, and particularly regarding that expansion and move to the US market. Why the US, and more specifically, why Texas, not California, given it's a tech company?
Great question. When I was starting out in Melbourne and growing the team there, it was very, very, very hard to hire people. Like, it was just hard to find good people, and the people that were good wanted a ton of money. I mean, I know that's everywhere, but like the amount of applicants we had was just kind of dismal. And then looking at the actual size of the market as well, like, I mean, America has 330 million people versus it's 10 times the size of Australia. So you hear these stories, whatever you do, it's the same setup cost as it is in the United States, if not cheaper, because it's cheaper to buy things here, but you have 10 times the population. It's probably the same reason why they don't have an IKEA in New Zealand, because like New Zealand's just too small. They're like, why would we? Cool, it's another market, but it's the same amount of setup costs that is to set up New Zealand, if not more, because it's smaller, but the population is so much smaller. So it doesn't make sense. Let's just go to a bigger market or invest extra marketing dollars in existing markets. So it was always kind of a bit of a dream to move to the US, but initially moved to Canada for 2 years. So what happened was I had flights booked for the 10th of March 2020 to go to go to Perth for a friend's wedding. And then on
10 days before the famous COVID crash.
And then
markets.
it must have been after. It must have been COVID was the 13th, and it must have been like the 15th. It was 2 days after, so it's been the 15th. So COVID hit, the flight was cancelled, and then I think it was like the 20th. I was booked to go to Vancouver. And so COVID hit, and everyone was like, "Oh, I got to shut everything down. Can't fly anywhere." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Nah, I ain't stopping. Like, there's no global pandemic that's going to stop me doing what I need to do." So I jumped on that flight to Vancouver amidst everything, and it was only because I didn't have a work visa for the US, and so I was born in Canada. I never grew up there. I lived there for 3 years, and so it was easy for me to get into Canada. So I'm just going to go to Canada as a stepping stone to then move to the US. And so the reason why Austin, I mean, since 2012, I've been doing a lot of traveling to the US just with friends and whatnot. So I've been to a lot of states, and Austin was just a cool place that I made a lot of friends here, and just always saw it as an awesome place. And to be honest, right before we did move down here, I did go to San Diego, and always loved San Diego. If anyone has ever been to San Diego, it's a wonderful place. Big fan of San Diego. But just higher living costs, gas costs, and ironically, everyone from San Diego is moving to Austin. So that's why it was kind of like a double kind of a thing here. And I mean, it's cool being a tech city here. I mean, we've got the big Google buildings downtown, and there's a lot of tech here. But at the same time, like we kind of just do our own thing and trying to create our own sort of ecosystem here at Field. So we don't really sort of get involved too much with what's going on. But Austin, it was more just a place that I loved from coming here 12 years or in 2012. So it's like 12 years ago, and traveling ever since. And then it just kind of all made sense. I had like a bit of a head start here because I knew people and knew the area really well. So yeah, that's why.
You mentioned a couple of times in that you mentioned the VC fund you chatted to in Melbourne, and then earlier you were talking about how tech. I suppose you need to hire a lot of people and a fair bit of runway to actually get customers across, and then once you have it, it's a bit of a tipping point. But you haven't taken VC funding. You've bootstrapped it till now. What's the story there? Because I know that's a big thing for tech companies and actually hitting scale. Like Spotify is only just becoming profitable now. How have you done it?
So great question, Kush. Great question. We ran a very, very, very lean machine, and like I owned nothing for many years, and like just grinded to the bone. And then Garo's been very, very influential and key in the process with raising money as well. And like I guess he throughout I took on a lot of the stress, and then Garo was able to go, okay, I understand. And then he was able to kind of like internalize that and then be able to voice how big of a thing we were building and how valuable it is and it's going to be, and really kind of played like a key part in the growth of Field in the early days. So, big ups to Garo. And I was just like, can I swear on here? Like, we're fucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I don't know what we're going to do. And Garo's like, no, I got this. Leave it with me. And I'm like, please. So, there was definitely like a lot of moments where we were never going to shut the doors. It was just kind of like iffy moments where like, how on earth are we going to come up with payroll? Like, how on earth are we going to pay these bills? And just maxing out every credit card we could find, maxing out absolutely everything, because, a team of up to 10 people with no income, where do you get that kind of money from? And even now we look back and we're just like, how on earth did we fund that? I don't know, but we just kept the costs so lean. And then we were able to show, I guess, good progress. And then everyone that was getting paid or took money were just busting ass every day. And so we really were able to find out who our true team members were, like who actually cared and who actually was behind the mission. And then at the same time, like there was no room for spilt milk. Like we had to really, really understand what we were building, why we were building it, and really analyze, okay, is this going to make us money? Is this going to actually get us more customers? Is this important, or is this just hot air? And I think that, I guess, living on the edge of disaster and pure adrenaline for 3 to 4 years was really what made Field what it is today. So the early days were just literally just grinding and doing anything we could to stay alive, and then being very, very careful who we hired. And so I guess it taught us a lot of good habits. And then now, guess what? We're profitable, and we have a very, very stable platform. And you look at the other bigger companies, it's like they're not designed to be profitable. Like they've just created a lot of bloat within their workforce. They don't want to fire everyone because it's going to upset the culture. And also like they've just kind of, they will fire everyone to quickly become profitable briefly, so then they can sell it to a new VC. But then the new VC comes in and realizes that it's chaos. No one wants to work there. They're understaffed and the customers hate the product. But because they're so big, they exist. But what if you actually got product market growth, and what if you actually found your organic fit, and what if you actually built a true SaaS product? Like, how about that for an idea? Why don't you actually build a SaaS product where people can log in and use it and pay you money, and then it just grows itself? Like that's what we're building, and that confuses me why people don't look at it like that.
So just on that, like now when you look forward in terms of the longer term vision of Field, and you mentioned VCs there and stuff like that. Now, when you're looking forward, are you building to sell? Like, so what I'm saying there is, do you have a set of metrics and a valuation figure in mind to build towards? So if I build out all of these products, all of these features, get this many customers, get this much SaaS revenue, this is what it should be worth? Or are you just aiming to grow and scale to infinity?
Well, that's a very, very good question. And like younger me would have been like, oh yeah, if I do this and this and this and this and this, it's going to mean this and this and this, and this is what we're going to do. And I think a lot of people are kind of naive in that sense that they think growth is it linear? Growth's going to be linear, and like the process is going to be linear. I mean, I've had so many meetings with VCs and I've flown all around the country on a wild goose chase and had meetings with Garo, with Australia, UK, you name it. And it gets to a point where, are we building a business to attract someone to pay us money, right? By doing bizarre things just to make our valuation look better than what it is? Or are we building a business that is going to be around for the long run and is going to be profitable? And I think as soon as I stopped worrying, as soon as we started to get closer to profitability, I stopped worrying about what other people would think and realized that, hold on a second, I don't need to care about if we do this right and if our numbers work and, we've got to manipulate this to do this and da-da-da. Like you can make any chart look great, right? It just depends what angle you look at. But the reality is do you have a resilient business that is going to stand the test of time and it's actually going to work? Like, because the reality is most of the funded companies don't work. And so like, I mean, where this came from, I went to a pitch competition in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I indirectly pitched field. You weren't allowed to pitch what you're working on. You had to come up with a new idea. And I pitched field. And then the person that won, it was like the most obscure pitch in the world, right? They didn't care about it. They weren't, when the going got tough, they would run, right? But they were just the best at pitching. And I could tell that a VC would be like, oh my God, I got to invest in this now. Like, this is brilliant. But those people are going to take your money and run. And that's what the industry is full of. And so I'm realizing now that like, I love doing what I'm doing and I love the team that I've built around me and they love coming to work every day. And every day we start to make these big, huge, gigantic moves because we actually have the bandwidth and the team and the resources to do that. And so it's something special that you create that I don't want to say no to, and I don't want to just sell out. And at the same time, like if you've got a business that is making you money, why would you sell it? We've built a beast that is going to be the category leader in the next couple of years. And we've built a gigantic moat around us just by pure determination and hard work.
So how has Field as a product changed from its inception to now? I'm sure it looks very different.
Yeah. Very different. I mean, UI UX, it's just night and day compared to the early days, right? I mean, it's had a lot of love. But in the early days, our legal name is Refresh Bookings Pty Limited, like Refresh Bookings Inc., right? The reason why is our accountant's like, we need a name quickly. And I was like, and he's like, well, it's Refresh, but it's software, but you're doing bookings, right? And so we called it Refresh Bookings because we thought we would just be like a front-end booking platform, like almost like a web form just to handle people's bookings for services, and they could use that, right? The product has changed dramatically because having a solution that you built for yourself bespoke to solve a problem that you understand because you understand it is very different to offering a consumer product. And then offering an enterprise product, you don't need to do a lot of that hard work, but very few products have transitioned from enterprise to consumer. The best products in the world have started out as a consumer product that's very easy to use and then added more and more features and gone upstream to enterprise. It doesn't go the other way around. So initially it was purely just going, okay, well, we were probably like a bespoke enterprise product that was hard to use because it was built just for us. And then now we've spent the last few years just unraveling how to explain all these really complex features that do not exist on the market but offer tremendous value to any service business. How to explain that? Because they don't know they need it. They don't know that it exists, and they don't know what to look for. And so like, hey, you need geofences. Like, what's a geofence? Like, I get it. It's something completely new. And then it's not just one product. They go, well, I don't need a switch. I've got this. And then you realize, okay, well, you're duct taping your business together. So now we need to do more and more and more. And then all of a sudden we have this suite. I'm like, well, how do I explain this suite? What is it? And it actually took me like 4 years before I learned the term field service management software. Like, I actually didn't know that was a thing. But even now, it's not really like field service management software. We don't really help you manage your business. We help you grow your business and automate it. If you have a big company and you just want to manage it, great. Well, we can do that. But most companies want to automate, and most companies want to grow. If they're small, they don't have anything to manage. So we basically help people from a startup, brand new business out the gate, all the way to a small business, mid-sized business. And then now we've actually started doing, we launched a franchise dashboard. So we help franchises. So you can manage multi-brand franchises, which is unheard of, all from one dashboard, and toggle between all the accounts, set everything up in sync, see all the reporting, leads, you name it, from one corporate dashboard. So the products changed dramatically over the years, from basically the booking and the customer side of things, to then completely rebuilding the CRM, to then offering marketing. We realized, okay, the lights are on. Now what? What do we do? Oh, well, we need to find customers. Well, people are just throwing money at Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, which is definitely a part of it. You have to have an online presence. I agree. But it's kind of like a two-pronged approach where you can burn a lot of money on Google Ads and not necessarily get the results. So what do we do? So in the US, we built a direct mail marketing system. So for home services and automotive services, say you go up and you clean someone's car, or you would paint someone's fence, or whatever, you fix someone's HVAC unit. As soon as you complete the job, you hit done, Field will send 10 postcards to the neighbors around that property saying, hey, we just fixed your HVAC unit. Are you having heating problems as well? We're just at your neighbor's house. And then if that person clicks on the QR code, or they put the address into our system, we own the database. So we'll go, oh, that's a lead at that address. And then you can enrich the lead and you can contact the lead straight away. So now we've become a sales and marketing side of things that is fully integrated into the CRM, which is then fully integrated into the booking side of things. So you can autonomously run your business as long as you set up all the services in that. So basically, if you can answer the phone and give people a quote over the phone, you can download your brand into Field, and we can take bookings for you 24/7 without any double bookings, which is, no one does that anywhere.
That's insane.
And all the way through to now, we're launching Field Pay in the next couple of days, which is our own payment gateway. It's been running in Australia for sort of 6 years now, but open to the US market, so better rates than Square and Stripe, fully integrated into Field with a lot more features, customized and designed for a service business. And so we've got that, and then also payroll as well. And so it's just an all-in-one system that can be used by everyone.
One of the wrapping up questions we really like to ask is, what would be your best piece of advice for a younger Harry? We have a lot of budding founders listening in, I'm sure, and particularly those in early stages. So I guess if you could just give them something to be aware of, or something to take on board in their journey, what would you tell them?
It's going to take you a lot longer than you think it's going to take.
Okay.
A lot longer. I mean, just have faith. I mean, there's always that meme of like the person digging, right? And then they've got like a little sliver left to go and all the diamonds are behind that. I mean, that's really the case. And your journey is only over when you decide it's over. And sure, you shouldn't be flogging a dead horse with a dumb idea, 100%. But like, I feel like the only reason why certain businesses succeed and certain businesses fail is because the founders have just got a little bit more grit than the last person. And, my job is literally every day dealing with problems and putting out fires. That's my job. It's not glory. I mean, sitting on a podcast is nice. Thank you for the invite. That's a good piece of the glory, right? But most of the time, it's just putting out fires and just doing horrible things all day. But those horrible things and those problems are what gets you to the next step and the next step and the next step, instead of going, it's too hard. Well, guess what? It's going to be hard, and you need to get used to it. And if you can thrive when it's hard, you're going to really, really enjoy things when they're good.
Yeah. I think that's incredible advice and a really good reality check that it's not all glamour and glitz. We're going to wrap up really soon, Harry, but before we do, I want to say an absolutely massive thank you for coming on. This has been one hell of a story, and I've loved capturing it. So huge thank you. Before we wrap up, where should people find you and Field if they want to check out what you do? They want to learn more about your story and more about the products. Where's the best place for people to look it up?
Just jump on our website, field.co, or go on Instagram as well. We've got some epic videos on there and outlining what we do. And here's one fact that no one really knows. Why does Field have 2 Ds? And that's something that we haven't ever really talked about or explained to anyone. And no one's really asked us either. But
why?
It's Field Disruption.
Oh, I thought it was just you couldn't get the domain name of Field.
And we couldn't get the domain. Yeah. We couldn't get the domain. Yeah.
Field Disruption.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
That's good.
So, Harry, well, you've done a hell of a lot since you left school when you're 16. You were in real estate and you've sold things door to door. You started Refresh Mobile Car Detailing. Then you turned that into Field when you realized that the scalability potential. You've moved from Perth to Melbourne to the States. And now you're, on the path of a juggernaut of Field. You've done all that. But our favorite question to end on is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I guess I still want to be a race car driver, like full-time race car driver. That'd be great. I mean, we live 5 minutes from the Circuit of Americas, so you can hear all the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and all the race cars up there. And it'd be cool. It'd still be cool to be a race car driver full-time.
Okay.
Well, you're not far off then, are you?
Yeah. Well, once this whole tech CEO founder journey maybe wraps up, maybe you can jump over into the Ferraris and cruise around.
If not sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Can do 2 things. Well, massive thank you again. And for our listeners, thanks for listening. Find us at curiositycrisis.com and Curiosity Crisis on Instagram or in all the major streaming services so you can listen how you like. The favor that we always ask, but if you got anything out of hearing Harry's journey with Field and everything else, please send this episode to a friend. Your recommendation is always worth a hell of a lot. So thank you, and catch you on the next one.